So the Washington Post recently came out with a correction, and right here the headline: Washington Post media critic reports on what led to major correction following Trump Georgia election story. So pretty much misreporting the words of the highest elected official in the land is a serious lapse, Eric Wimple wrote. And then I'm going to read a couple paragraphs, and then we'll have a discussion about it. So the Washington Post media critic wrote a piece on Tuesday looking into what led to the paper's major correction on its bombshell report from January about a phone call between the then President Trump and Georgia election investigator Francis Watson. The Post initially reported Trump had told an official working in Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger's office to find the fraud in the state, which he lost narrowly to Joe Biden, and that she would be a national hero if she did. However, a newly emerged recording of the December 23rd call found he did not use those words. Instead, Trump said she would be praised when the right answers comes out and encouraged her to closely examine mail-in ballots in the Fulton County, the heavily blue and mostly populated state or county in the state. So it's just the reason why I want to bring this up, because like I said beforehand or previously in this podcast, was I just don't like this very clear, purposeful misinformation to further a particular agenda and narrative. Like, I just don't like it. And this is bad. The Washington Post did this. And the issue, and I don't know if they address it further in here. I don't think they do. They had a source, an anonymous source, tell the person that about this phone call. They didn't actually hear the phone call. This anonymous source told them about what they heard in the phone call. Washington Post then wrote the article about it, and then other news networks cited the Washington Post to then parrot this, and that's how it got out of hand. They didn't even properly use site resources and cite and all the whatever they're supposed to learn in freaking journalist school to do this. And now we're finding out 2 months later, 3, that's not actually what was said. We're actually misquoted him and like completely wrong. That's just, I don't know. This bothers me personally to no end.
I think this is a sin of the information age, man, because I honestly do this all the time. I'll read a headline and be like, oh, that's fucked up. And then I'll just won't even click the button. Because I know it's clickbait. I know it's like 100%. Supposed to get to me. And so I play this game where I'm like, you're not going to get me.
You're not going to get me, exactly.
But I know what you said. And then I keep going about my day. And then like somebody says to me, like, dude, did you hear the fucking X place got bombed? And they're just like, what? And I was like, dude, bombed with fucking like roses. And I was like, oh, I didn't actually read it, my bad. So like that shit happens all the time, dude. And it's kind of fucked up that you're right. It is happening at a journalistic level for a national media source.
What's the purpose in calling it journalism?
Yeah, because I don't.
Yeah, you're right. It's not even journalism at this point. Yeah.
And it's wild. 'Cause I do the same thing that Doc does. I'll see the thing, and if it's something I actually want to learn about,
I'll read it.
And
look more into it.
If it's not,
yeah,
I'll just know the topic, and if somebody brings it up, I'll be able to ask questions or at least listen.
Well, I saw this headline. Yeah. Like, tell me about it if you know something. And
Other than that,
yeah.
I refuse. And for somebody whose job it is, they get paid for this.
Yeah.
I don't get paid to do what I'm doing, and I still read full articles if I'm going to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
You're writing about it, and you didn't even make sure that you heard it you didn't even hear from a primary source. There's no primary source in this at all.
It's an anonymous source.
An anonymous source was somebody who overheard something.
Supposedly overheard something.
You think the guy got fired?
No, I don't. And that's honestly, I think, an issue.
Another
These journalists
problem.
aren't being held accountable for the stuff like this. We don't have news in America anymore. We have propaganda, like you said, propaganda machines.
100%.
Like, where do you go to get proper news now?
Honestly, this is something I was thinking about the other day because I was talking to my coworker. My coworker lives overseas, and he's just like, well, I just watched CNN to see what's happening in the U.S. And I'm like, what? I'm like, bro, like, I don't even lean far right. And I'm still going to tell you, like, you should probably tune out every now and then and just watch them. I don't know, just read something else.
Anyone who watches any kind of mainstream news solely as their news source, be it CNN or Fox News, I'm sorry, you're being manipulated with propaganda. You're being inundated with propaganda. Like, it's the mainstream news networks are not where you go to get news now. It's where you go to get confirmation bias.
100%. You
got to go to independent, or you got to start looking up on your own.
I think it's crazy though.
There's only people there on the ground floor, and so like, I'm really good about like if it's something like the attack or something like that, like the Capitol Hill. It's on somebody's Instagram. I'm just gonna go watch that video. That's it. Then I'll hear reporting on it.
I saw
But
the
from
video.
different
I don't care
sources,
what
but
you say. Like, I
yeah.
know what happened. Yeah.
Based
saying,
off that
Doc?
video.
I've been arguing in my head a lot over this stuff because, so I work from home and I read all day. So to me, to find a news article, I'm just like, oh, dude, do I really have to fucking read this? But like, I want to stay informed of the world around me because I'm living in a box right now during the pandemic and stuff like that. And so I read it, but it does take a little bit of my like mental energy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And
Completely,
so
I understand that
I've had
completely.
days where I read just nothing but just like, you're gonna die tomorrow probably. You should probably do this. And I'm just like, dude, fuck, like I'm so spent. So that's why I hit this state where I just kind of start skimming over stuff. You know what I mean? Because there's just so much information all the time, and the U.S., especially our media, is just it's a content generator. Like we're content generators. They are a content generator as well. They're just at a mass level. But the only thing is like they take their things seriously, or maybe they don't take things seriously, which is the problem. But like going through the content and just constantly consuming content and stuff like that, like dude, it's exhausting. And I think as an American living in this age right now, I've kind of gotten to a point where it's just like, you know what, like Thoreau, who's like an old American romanticist, once said like you have to rely on yourself. Like it's all about self-reliance. And to an extent, like people are like, oh, that's just, you know, toxic masculinity in some sense, because he kind of was just like a soloist in the middle of the woods.
He was
But
transcendentalist, I think.
yeah, like dude, when you read our news, like when other people I would assume come to the United States after the pandemic, they're gonna be like, dude, it's just trash. And it's like, yeah, you have to define yourself with what you want to see. And I get the whole like confirmation bias issue. I just think that right now, that's sometimes the only way to stay sane, man. And that's the hard part.
With the confirmation bias?
Yeah, because like
I think that's how you go insane.
Have you ever noticed there are people that you bump into that just operate within the confines of like just what's around them or what's given to them? Like I just watched news.
Perfect example.
I just watched this.
Perfect example. So there's two extremes. My example would be masks and then the riots going on. So one extreme is the people who are so fearful of going out and being social, whatever that, because of the COVID. Like you have to wear a mask. If you don't go out with a mask,
Yeah.
you're evil because you're spreading blah blah blah. Then I just had an experience at our friend's birthday party. She was fearful of going out and being social because of everything going on with the riots, blah blah blah. That she was fearful that her car might get stolen or her rims. She's gonna come back and see it on bricks or something like that. And I was just kind of like, you're actually afraid of that? I don't know. It's interesting.
I know
how
exactly what you're talking about.
when you're in some kind of bubble,
Mm-hmm.
bias bubble, how you are afraid to navigate the world based off these views, and it's so.
But those people, when you interact with them, it's interesting because like there's so many of them,
yes,
and so like
I
there's not many people. Like it's almost refreshing when you bump into somebody and they're actually, I don't want to say critical thinking and overuse the words,
But
but
just
they're
critical,
actually
period.
like critical of things.
Yeah.
Period. You know what I'm saying? Whereas like it's like, what do you do with the rest of your day? Like, do you not think into things? And so like to Doc's point, those people need that because they honestly just they've made their world to a point where they actually can't deal.
But I don't
or
see how
need
that goes to what Doc's saying, which was it
keep
keeps them sane.
confirmation bias.
But how does that
because-
keep them sane? I
it
don't
keeps
understand that. I feel
whatever-
like that makes them insane.
But whatever their level of sanity is. So if I just
okay.
value bubblegum and
That was weird. Go on.
if
you
I
value
just
bubblegum?
if I just value bubblegum and balloons, and somebody gives me $1 million bubblegum and piece of bubblegum and balloons, in reality, I don't still have a place to go. I don't have nothing to live.
Nothing's really changed.
But I can be happy with it
Yeah.
because I value it. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And so like we just have a lot of people that we've created so many different bubbles, and none of those bubbles are actually okay with they're okay with tapping against each other, but they're
But
not
not
okay with merging or interacting for real. So it's like they only interact with the confirmation bias, the people that are like them. And there's enough people that think like me that I don't have to understand where you're coming from.
I don't like that. Those people fear. I don't like.
That's
those people
that's
scare
where
me.
we are, and it's
That's
horrible.
weird.
It's horrible. It's horrible because, like for example, I'll be at work, right, and somebody will go on a rant about Trump, and I'll be agreeing, and then he'll say something that's too far. I'd be like, bro, that you can't tell me, like, come on, my dog. Like, you're making me defend people. Like, come on, my dude. That's not, you, and you know, if you came to all those other conclusions correctly, you just refuse to accept this.
It's like he says something that was like really profound, and you're like, yeah, that's good. And then he just says, yeah, bitches.
Yeah.
And you're just like, dude, like
what are you doing? Like, what are you doing?
All you need to do is put the chair on top of the sundae, and you drop the sundae.
That's it.
Like, what the fuck, man?
And then, but that's when people, they dig into, like, what we're talking about, our friend. I was like, that person digs into a point emotionally, so they actually have no space to retreat. And the space to retreat is information. The space to retreat is accountability. The space to retreat is actually accepting there's a different truth out there. Or there's more picture to what you're looking at. And so when you dig in,
picture to what you're looking at.
But when you dig in emotionally, you can't pivot because you have to justify the emotions that got you there. And so all these people they're dug in. They're dug in. And literally, if they accept that one thing, it breaks down their frame of thinking. Because, like,
or it discredits their emotions.
Yeah, but that's a foundational piece.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, well, then what the fuck else have I? And I don't feel like finding out what the fuck else I've been ignorant about. Yeah, like it's like Jenga. Absolutely. And I don't think nobody really wants to break themselves down to a point where they're like, wow, I've either been ignorant or wrong of this, and do the work that understanding takes.
See, I do the opposite, where it's just like I'm pretty open to a lot of things, to the point where I've fucked up a lot, and I'm just like, I should actually really close up on some things and not do all
100%. 100%. I'll play devil's advocate.
Put my foot in my mouth a lot.
I'll play devil's advocate and then play devil's advocate to that advocate just to do it. I don't know why. It's just I've always second guessed myself. What's up, guys? Thanks for watching a clip of Fake Deep Thinking. If you like what you heard, be sure to subscribe, like the clip, leave a comment, and check out our page for more content. Full episodes of Fake Deep Thinking are released every Friday on Podbean, iTunes, and Spotify. Check it out.